right, so as I look at the picture of Mathias Klein, you always wonder, what was that guy all about? Where did he come from? How did he have the idea to start a company like Klein Tools? So was he indigenous to America, or did he come over?
No, he came over from Germany as a youngster, well, young man. I think he was 22, 23, something like that. And he had learned a trade in Germany. He was a blacksmith and a locksmith, and had learned from a master craftsman, and had his journeyman card signed off by a master so that he could demonstrate, or prove that he had learned all of these skills. And he left Germany for religious reasons. The environment was just a little bit threatening to him, I guess, and so he decided to come to the U.S. A lot of Germans at that time were emigrating to the U.S. and the land of opportunity, was that in the 1820s, in the 1840s. He was born in the 1820s. He didn't speak English. He came here with nothing and landed in New York and I think ended up in the Boston area and hooked on with a whaling ship, and spent the next year or so on a whaling ship doing sort of blacksmith work. He was sharpening harpoons and knives and oarlocks and whatever other hardware needs they had on the ship. And the side benefit of that is that he was the only German on the ship, so he learned English, sort of, at least enough to get by. So he finished his year or so on the ship, and he sailed all the way around the South America and over into the Hawaiian Islands and up into the Alaskan coastal waters, and so he actually saw a lot of territory for a guy of that age.
Kind of the hard way too, on a whaling ship, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was not fun. In fact, he had a diary, and in that diary there were several hurricanes and typhoons and things like that they went through that they really, he didn't think he was going to make it,
Yeah.
So it was very tough. I mean, whaling ships weren't very big either back in those days, I don't believe. So it was a tiny ship in a big ocean.
Right, it's like that scene out of Jaws, we're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah.
You're chasing the big one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting that he would then become, well, he was a blacksmith and probably, was a guy that wished for better tools. How is it that he developed his line of pliers?
Well, he started by repairing, well, he ended up moving to Chicago after spending some time in Philadelphia doing blacksmith work, and he had a shop right in the Loop area of Chicago. A telegraph lineman walked in with a broken pair of tools that had been made in Germany, that the jaw had broken off the pair of pliers, and asked if my great-great-grandfather could repair it. And he said, sure, come back in a couple of days. And so he made a new half, mated it to the other original half that was still in good shape, and the lineman was very happy with it. And then a few weeks later he came in and the other original half had broken, so he fashioned, my great-great-grandfather fashioned another half, and then, as the story goes, that was the first complete Klein plier. He still didn't think of himself as being in the tool business. I mean, his business, he did not the traditional blacksmith stuff where it's horseshoes and bridles and stuff. He was doing wrought iron work. He did still do locks and hinges and pins and things like that were used in construction in Chicago at the time. Chicago was one of the fastest growing cities in the world at that point. And then anyway, getting back to the lineman, he started sending in his co-workers, say, hey, I found a guy that can repair tools, and actually he could probably make some new tools, and tools weren't really pliers weren't really being made in the U.S., and so it was a long supply line, so to speak, coming over from mostly Germany. And so over the next 15, 20 years, he changed from an all-purpose blacksmith, hardware manufacturer to a tool manufacturer. He lived to be 92, which for a guy born in in the 1820s is quite a feat. And I'm told that he worked up until he died. I presume that he wasn't coming in every day, and he wasn't sitting at the anvil hammering on steel at 92, but he remained active in the business, and he had two sons who then took over upon his death. I mean, they took over a lot of the responsibilities, I'm sure, prior to that point, but officially at his death.
A pleasure talking to you. And you know what, if you ever want to know more about Klein Tools, kleintools.com. I mean, if you got all the history, let's tell the story and get it on record.